this past weekend. We got video. Let's bust this donkey dick down, baby. Here we go, coming on that side cam. And all right, I'm home. Not really, I'm in Dallas. Monday, August 14th. Monday, August 14th. And it's this past weekend. Celebrate dark days. That's what they say right there. And that's the Spencer Jacob Grau band, Grau. And they have that intro song that they made for me a while back. Still grateful to those guys. I'll try to remember to put the link on the YouTube this weekend. But it's there in spirit. If sometimes you don't see the link on the page, it's there in spirit. Happy Monday. Happy middle of August. Can you believe it? Do you believe in August? Well, you better, man. It's wrapping its arms around you right now. You know, and I'm here in Dallas, Texas. And I am in a Intercontinental, I think the hotel is called. It's good. The elevators are really slow. When you get in the elevator, and I don't like an elevator. You know, if you know me, you know I'm old-fashioned. I like staircase. You know, I remember a time when if you were handicapped, you just waited at the bottom of the stairs until some strong boys or a strong lady or two would carry you up if you had to get up to a different floor. You know, and I think that was a more romantic time. And some people are like, oh, well, that's crazy or whatever. You're crazy, okay? You've been eating crazy sauce. Check your gums for CS residue, baby, because I haven't been eating crazy sauce. I'm saying that if you're handicapped, you're sitting at the bottom of the stairs, right? And there's nothing wrong with being handicapped, dude. In the future, people that are handicapped will rule the world. But if you're handicapped, you're sitting at the bottom of a staircase, somebody comes along, right? They're going to help you. They're going to help you. And when they help you, you're going to feel helped. They're going to feel like they helped someone. And those are great feelings, you know? And that's immediately, people are connecting. You know, maybe you're going to the third or fourth floor. Maybe you guys sweat a little. You know, maybe they have you thrown over their shoulder and you know, let out some body gas. You accidentally have a little bit of body gas that comes out or something. And it doesn't make anybody a bad person. It just, I think times like that brought people closer together. You know, back when, you know, if you were walking past the staircase and you saw, you know, somebody that was H-capped or something sitting down at the bottom, or somebody that, you know, had a limp or something, you know, they couldn't get up the stairs, you were able to help them. And it made you feel good, man, and it made them feel good. And that's how a lot of friendships probably started back in the day. Whereas now you get into a cold box and it takes you wherever you need to go and you get out. And you still have your handicap, and the person who had the opportunity to help you, they didn't get to help anybody. And so everybody's maybe feeling, you know, a little less connected than they were back in the old days, you know, back when you just waited at the bottom of the stairwell for a kind man or strong women, a couple of strong women to scoop you up and get you to where you needed to go. But the elevators aren't working here. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't work very well at this hotel. You get there, and then there's literally about a 4-second delay before the doors open and let you out into the hallway. That's a long time. It's a long time for when there's already that awkward energy in an elevator. I feel uncomfortable in elevators, and I long have. And I used to think that it was other people making me feel uncomfortable. Now I know that it's me. It's me who is just naturally born filled with uncomfort. You know, I mean, if I was a donut, I'd be an uncomfort creller, and I'd be filled with uncomfort cream. And that's just how I think I'm made, you know. The ingredients in me, I mean, you're looking at 6, 7, 8 cups of discomfort out of the gate. But I'm happy to be here with you guys today, man. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you had a good weekend. I know, you know, I'll tap into the news, man. I'm here in Dallas. You know, I'm here in the South. Even though Texas is its own universe, it really is, man. Texas is extraordinarily diverse, I find. You know, there's a lot of diversity here. And you know, this weekend was just crazy. The Charlottesville stuff popped up, and that's on everybody's mind. I'm not going to go into it much. I think my immediate thoughts were that this is sad and that this is ignorant. Those are my immediate thoughts. You know, the idea of anybody thinking that their small group rules the universe or runs the world, it's inane. You know, it's ignorant. And when it gets to these levels where people are out protesting and stuff, it's just pretty ridiculous, and it's really old-fashioned too, if you will. You know, I'm not trying to minimalize it, but it's like, really, you know. And it's ignorant. That's what I thought. I would look at these ignorant people. But then I'm wondering, well, who are these other ignorant people who, if you know severely ignorant people are going to be somewhere, that you're showing up to protest severe ignorance? You know, and the media is saying that it's a couple of thousand, not that many people. You know, you have a few hundred, pitchfork monsters out there, and let them go. Let them have their say, let them wave their flags and say what they want to say, and then let it disperse. But then you have also people who I don't understand the reason, if knuckleheads are out and about, I stay inside. Because you know what I'm saying? Knuckleheads, if you go out and you meet up with a knucklehead in the street, you're a knucklehead. I'm not saying your views are right compared to theirs, or that your views are wrong compared to theirs, but that's dumb. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's out in the street with weaponry and ignorance, I promise you, I'll be inside drinking sweet tea or making homemade butter. You know, or being inside doing Monopoly or something, you know, or making candles or doing homemade woodworks. You're not going to catch me out in the side. I'm not going to catch a case of ignorance. So I just don't understand some of that. I just don't understand why give these people attention. And then the media comes and gives them mass attention. Mass attention. So now you have the whole world thinking that this is who America is. And that's the media's fault. That's not true. You know, and it's just, man, it makes me mad. I wish somebody would just come out with a news organization or any type of entertainment that was just real, based in reality, that didn't have a political agenda, that didn't have a political point of view. Because it makes me sad when you see the rest of America. Being like, we're not fucking have anything to do with these people. You know, it makes the South look ignorant, which I think these days sometimes is a goal. It's a goal sometimes of these mainstream media outlets to make the South seem ignorant, you know? I don't know. Just really sad. It made me think, wow, these dudes definitely didn't get the fraternity they were rushing for, you know? I mean, these fellas, I mean, it's just fun. I mean, some of it was just so funny and ridiculous. But then they take these photos, they put them at angles to make it look like there's a million people out there. You know, when it's probably 400 people or 300. None of them even have an Uber app. They all drove. They'd only be there for a couple hours. They're probably paying pretty good money for parking if it was a premium area they were in. You know, after $24 of parking expenses, they're not going to be out there anymore. So I'd have let them spend that parking money and go. But I just feel like the media creates so much more than there really is. It makes our country look so bad. And that's disheartening. You know, it's disheartening because it's just not the truth. So I think some of my feelings were, you know, it made me feel sad. It made me feel sad. And it made me feel if ignorance is in the street and you go out there, man, it's hard to say that you ain't a little bit ignorant, you know? So, I mean, it's just sad what happened. You know, people died. There was a helicopter crash. And then police officers have to go and be out there. Now you have police officers who are in unsafe conditions. It's just, some of the selfishness and ignorance is just beyond me, you know. But, man, the media, blood on their hands. The media should be tried in a court of law. I do not understand how you can continually scare people, you know. Because 150 dudes in Charlottesville, Virginia, it's not that scary, really, you know. If you let those guys loose against a real pack of any type of group of people that they hate, I mean, even probably 40 strong gay dudes will whip those people's ass, you know? And instead, you give them all this attention to make it seem like there's something special. So, just disheartening, man. But we go on, you know? And, you know, maybe you lift some of these people up in your thoughts, you put them up in prayers, you know, but we go on. You know, we go on. and we have things to take our mind off of things. This weekend I went to, I'm big into the Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm big into LHO, the alleged killer of John F. Kennedy. And I'm here in Dallas where he kind of really, polished up his, really finished off his career, if you will, even though he went to middle school in my hometown. And I'm not a fan of Lee Harvey Oswald, but I'm sure there's a little bit of infatuation there. I think it's interesting. So today we went to the book depository. Me and a friend of mine went to the book depository, and she was chatting. Man, sometimes you get with somebody, they just, at one point I'm like, what am I even listening to anymore? Is there a B-side to this person? Can I get at least a remix? Do you know another language? At least just continue to just gab and gab and gab. But can we do it in Spanish or Slovakian or Slovakian? So I had to be a good listener, man. But we're in there, man, and it's pretty wild. You get in that book depository, and you see where Lee Harvey was and where he cracked these shots off of. I'll put it on my Instagram if you want to check out. It's the view. That's the angle. That's the view. That's the distance coming out of an iPhone. You can check it out. And so that was pretty wild, man. But I recommend it if you get here to Dallas, check out the book depository, and you go check out. Let me tell you this. What you need to check out is the boarding house that Lee Harvey was at. Because Lee Harvey seemed like kind of a small little. If these days he'd be a guy who was into Krav Maga, but not like now, but like 50 years ago, like small, wiry, fiery. He had his wife staying in a house nearby. He was staying in a boarding house. I mean, you get to go to the boarding house. So if you go to the boarding house, you get to see what was going on in the actual boarding house. And the girl whose family ran the boarding house when Lee Harvey stayed there, she still now operates the museum that the boarding house has turned into. And she gives you tours. So you can talk to her and think with her and see what some of her thoughts are. But after a lot of investigation, I think it's hard to think that Lee Harvey didn't do it. So that's where I stand. I've had some people reach out to me and ask, and that's where I stand with that. What else is going on, man? I'm a week off of the pornography. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling virile a little bit. But I can feel just over my shoulder sometimes. I can feel, unknown titties or foreign breasts or, wild cooter or dirtyteens.com just lurking on the nape of my neck. So I have to be careful. I have to be careful because I'm trying to stay off of the pornography and just keep it out of my life. I start to think that I'm better than that. Now if you're 25 years old and you're spraying out, and and you lending yourself a hand every now and then, you know what I'm saying? You're putting your body and you're putting your nuts to work and your vas deferens. You turning them into some straight up snipers, sniping out, just skeeting out and living life, and that's okay. But if you find that you have some sort of addiction to it or some sort of issue, then hold the line, brother. Go for a walk. Breathe deep. You know what I'm saying? Put ice in your mouth. That's what my buddy used to do. And my buddy's actually, his mother taught us that. His mother one time knew we were hiding up in the house one weekend and doing masturbation. And so she took a bunch of ice and put it in our mouths. And I don't know what it does to you, but I mean, I'll tell you this. I've never lived through a strong winter, but I don't think I could jerk off, in a snowstorm. I don't think I could do masturbation in an avalanche because there's something about it that just shuts down your desire to self-spray, do self-spray. So anyhow, man, I'm here in Dallas. I had a good weekend. I want to thank everybody that came out. We had a good squad that came out, a lot of people. Saw some friends, man. I had people that drove in from Kansas that came out and vomited in the bar afterwards, but nice people, and decent vomit. A real hearty birth of vomit flew out of this lady. And I remember when I was young, the first time I ever vomited, and I'd been having peanut butter and jelly, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I just was vomiting. I was just spraying hot on the wall. And I was yelling, I'm screaming, I'm crying. My mother comes in and she's like, what's going on, And I'm just like, my dinner is flying out of my face. I just didn't have a concept of puking. I'm just like, my dinner just does not want to be with me. And so she helped me clean it up and then put me back to sleep. But I remember just being scared after that to eat for a while because I was scared to know if certain foods wanted to live inside of my body, But what else, man? What else is going on in the world, Joe Rogan had his birthday this past week. I don't think if you guys caught that, I think it was on Thursday or Friday. But I want to give a shout out to him and Coco Diaz. I spoke with him the other day, and I am name dropping here, but I feel blessed to kind of be able to take knowledge from these guys. When it comes to podcasting or thinking, or just making me feel like a part of the business that I love of stand-up comedy. So I hope we have a million more years of Joe Rogan. If you haven't listened to Joe Rogan, I suggest you check into him. He's the strongest sponge, I think, that we have out there these days. And I say that in the sense that man likes to, he likes to be strong and he likes to absorb. And those are good ways to be, man. He's an inspiring dude. And Coco, if you don't know Coco Diaz, man, look, I know if you've had hot cocoa, if you like that, you need to try this, hit a spicy cocoa. Joey Coco Diaz. All right, before we get into a couple of calls here, I wanted to let you know the hotline number again is 985-664-9503. You can hit the hotline discussing anything we're talking about. You can start a topic idea of your own if you want to floor one for the next episode. And that's pretty much it, man. I appreciate the calls. We've had a lot of great ones. Some of them I'm saving for future episodes that we're kind of piecing together. And some of them, just hits at the right time. And so we're going to use it then. But I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's get to some calls. We had a girl that called in last week. And she was talking about how she had hairy arms when she was young. And that she got made fun of a lot for those hairy arms. And since then, she's always shaved her arms down. And here it is 15, 20 years later. And I bet if she saw the people who had made fun of her arms, they wouldn't even remember anymore. Because people are forgetful animals, dude. I mean, we leave memories everywhere. People are forgetful animals. But that she... if she ran into these people, they wouldn't even remember, but that she still remembers, that she carries that with her. And so we got a lot of calls that came in. But I do want to thank everybody that came out into Dallas this weekend, man. I had a great time. Big respect out to my boys Gustavo, DJ Yo that came through. Who else? Lil Geet. My boy Sherb hooked me up with some camera guys that came out. Beautiful fellas, man. One of them boys had beautiful eyes. One of them had beautiful hair. I mean, he had the falls coming off the back. When it takes balls to grow the falls, man, I'll say that. Okay? It takes rocks to drop the locks, baby. And if you're not growing the back of your hair out and you never have, then just try it. I know this haircut looks like something that the dog caught, or something that maybe you'll wake up and there might be a bird living in. Or that a seamstress might come and kind of pluck a little bit off the back of your scalp, off the upper nape of your neck, so she can have a little bit of extra thread to do her deed. Okay? I know that. I know there's nothing clutch or savvy about coming in with this. But I'll tell you this, when you show up with that gutter cut, when you show up with that gunt chop boo-boo, people know that you mean business. People know that you mean business. And I tell you that my life has soared since I have not been afraid to try something new. If it's something as small as a haircut or, even just choosing not to pick my nose while I drive, I'm making changes in my life. What are you doing? What are you doing? So let's get to some of those calls, man. I know we're getting to them early today, but that's it. That's it. They're great. I'm going to give you a couple of quick dates really fast. I will be at the Cap City Comedy Club in Austin, September 6th through 7th. I'll be at Hilarities in Cleveland, September 14th through 17th. And I'll be in Huntsville, Alabama at Stand Up Live. That's November 16th through the 19th. You can get the 2 albums that are out, 30 Pound Bag of Hamster Bones and Musket Fire on iTunes. And you can grab some other stuff that's on theovon.com/store. All right, we got some great calls, man. Like I said, the callers were hitting us up in response to if somebody said something to you that you then lived your life by it or felt, it hurt your feelings. It affected the way that you viewed yourself, and you carried those behaviors on for a long time. And I've had them. And I'll get to some of mine, but let's crack into this. This is old Poop Eyes calling us. Let's hear you.
Hey, Theo, man. Big fan. I enjoy the podcast and your stand-up. So, yeah, I'm from Gulfport, Mississippi, actually. So that gentleman who wanted to suck your peanut behind the Greyhound station.
Mm. Yeah. He's referencing there was a gentleman I met from Gulfport on during a Greyhound bus, life adventure, who was trying to, touch me off with the insides of his mouth. Who was trying to do, inner wall and tongue favors with his mouth onto my body. And thankfully I made it out of that. But that's a typical Greyhound, something that can happen at some of the stops while you're just trying to get a Gatorade or live your life. But anyhow, yep, Gulfport, Mississippi. I actually hitchhiked out of there one time to South Carolina, chasing an ex-girlfriend. Ended up petting somebody's cat on her porch in the middle of the night in Charleston. And thank God realized that I was borderline about to turn into a stalker. So anyhow, onward. Thank you for calling, brother, from Gulfport. Onward.
They got some people there. We were talking about on the podcast shit that impacted your life when you were younger. Well, my mom, when I was like 5 years old, it was a joke around the house to tell me I had poopy brown eyes.
Okay, he said a joke around the house he had poopy brown eyes. Poopy brown.
Like my eyes were brown. So I went to school, and when the teacher was asking, what color is everyone's eyes, people were like blue and green, and I said poopy brown because I really thought poopy was a shade of brown. And so I quit telling people my eye color was poopy brown. So that impacted my life, but it was embarrassing. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks, man.
I appreciate you sharing that, man. That shit visuals you had and that you were feeling that. Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because you'll hear something, you'll think it's okay to say, and then you'll share it, And yeah, I can imagine that'd be weird, For years, you got them poopy brown eyes, you got them, what's it called? You got that diarrhea dilators, People saying, oh man, he got that, he must have been eating kale. He must have been having a few beets because his eyes are setting it off with that booty gravy style, And I can feel that, man. I appreciate you sharing that because that's a real thing. It's wild when we're young how somebody tells you one thing and then it changes you forever. Somebody told me that I looked like a Doonesbury character, one of those characters from a cartoon, and they're kind of dead in the eyes. And when I'm half Polish, so when you're half Polish, your eyes, that this area of your face only comes in at about 70 watts. You're not running on 100 watts like other people are, like a lot of, you'll see some people sometimes from Venezuela, Ecuador, Brazil. They're running high wattage up here in the optical area. But you hit the Polish, man, they're coming in around 70 watts in the eyes, because they don't want you to see what they're thinking. They want to keep the stage dimly lit, even though sometimes there's a lot of activity going on. There's a lot of dialogue running behind the curtains. But I appreciate that, man. You had them poop eyes. Other people had wild stuff. I remember they had a boy in our town, a young brother, young black child, named Doo-Doo Brown. They called him Doo-Doo Brown. And if you had poop eyes, imagine this boy had whole, I guess I'm assuming, just entire poop physique and everything. And I don't know how he caught the name or not, but he really had it. He really had young Doo-Doo Brown. They called him Richard, I think was his name. And then at one point, somebody gave him a pair of church socks, and he would wear the church socks during basketball. And he never had the right shoes. He always had on, sometimes not even the same shoe. So you'd see him out there on the basketball court, one sneaker, one cowboy boot, church socks flying out of him. And that's when people started calling him Dress to Kill, DTK. And they would yell, "Dress!" from the sidelines every time he'd get the ball, "Dress!" And the boy would get so nervous that he just couldn't even deal with his own life. Dress to kill. I don't know whatever happened to him. But I'm doubting he turned into quite the haberdasher, because he probably was afraid to live or to wear anything. I mean, hell, he could just be wearing a onesie these days, and I wouldn't blame him. Because it's the things that people tell us sometimes that resonate with us forever. And that just, and it's weird, and you don't know when it's going to be. You don't know what years of your life, or what moments, until years later. It's so crazy. It's just so wild. But I appreciate you calling in, man. And I'm sure you got decent eyes, dude. I'm sure you got decent eyes, bruh. So good luck out there. All right, let's take another caller here.
Hey, Theo, it's your boy Tom in rural North Carolina. Just listened to your this past weekend about insecurities. And when I was
Wow, Tom's not Polish, man. Tom's coming in heated there. You feel that? He's got that balamos in him. He's got that, like somebody historically in his family was hiding gunpowder under their tongue. Or filling, or maybe doing cinnamon suppositories or something to up their game. He's full. You can hear the life in him. All right. He's got that Dolby surround sound coming out of his face. Let's hear it. Keep going.
When I was a kid, like third grade, I grew up overweight, so I had man boobs. And as a kid, that was real great to make me an easy target.
Yeah, kid titties, they call them. Kid tits. And you'll see a lot of boys with them, kid tits. And sometimes they're hotter than some of the breasts that are out there that you actually end up touching. Oh, I don't know if I want to tell this story, but I remember when we first started seeing breasts and tits. They called them both things back then, breasts and tits. And I remember this fella in our town had some, and I hate to say it, I'm not, he had beautiful, beautiful tits on him. And as a child, I could recognize it. Like, my God, if you'd have just been able to cut off like his head and the rest of his body below his breasts and his arms and just put that other little rectangle into a contest, it could have won a beautiful kind of pale but still beautiful tits contest. Because this boy had some just glamour mammers on him. Just sunlit. It just seemed like somebody had just caught two little handfuls of sunlight and just shaped them into just sweet nippled meats. Beautiful. This kid had beautiful tits on him. And I remember one time, even in a pool, kind of when I was going through those times when you start to get those squirrels running through your body, when you're feeling a little bit electric and you're feeling sex inside of you, when you start feeling it. I remember in the pool, I would repeatedly grab onto this boy's chest and just be like we were wrestling, But I knew in my head that I was being sexual with him in some way. I know that's crazy, man, but I just wanted to share that. But thank you for calling in, man. This isn't about me. Onward.
So we're standing in the lunch line, and these two kids are like, "You have bigger breasts than women," all this shit that to this day, I just never, I've lost over 200 pounds in my adult life, and I've just never forgotten that, and it's led me down I was always athletic.
Okay, you lost 200 pounds now, so you really did. So you had the weight issues impacting it as well. Onward.
You're just like a real big kid. As I gotten older, just the insecurities never left, leading me to take TRT, running multiple cycles of D-ball.
Okay, he's talking about steroids now. Onward.
It's to the point now where I can't be big enough. I grew up very, very insecure, so now I try to project almost the opposite, where I'm just very big and I'm very aggressive and very, very not me. I think if I didn't have those insecurities, I think I would have been a very different person, a lot nicer person, a lot nicer to look at. Because now I'm just in the gym 20 hours a week, quite literally, taking exogenous testosterone just out of fear. That's my insecurity. It's a pretty deep one to this day. I look myself in the mirror and I just think I look small and I look terrible. So it's like a true body dysmorphia that those two boys really inflicted. Hey, man, thanks for the podcast. Love you, bro.
Wow, man, love you too, man. I want to say that, and this call really reflects with me, man. I can really relate to this. And I don't know if you guys heard some of the things that he said. I'm hoping that you did, because you have ears that go straight to your brain, and you have jurisdiction over those holes. But he was saying that people made fun of the way he looked when he was young, and so it impacted him so much that years later he's taking steroids, and then when he looks in the mirror sometimes, he feels like he's whoever he is. It's not even really him. That he would be totally different maybe if he weren't caught in this, cycle, if you will, of having to feel like he had to be big or built or jacked or geeked up on that protein. And man, I can relate to this 100%, dude. That sounds like, something that very much happened to me when I was young. I was extremely thin when I was young. I had a basketball coach one time that called me a name. It was a nickname, but it made me feel really thin. And I had a big butt too. So I've always been big in the glutes. I've had that kind of either kind of a black girl's butt or kind of even a Down syndrome. My buddy Derry and I had the same butt. I've talked about that before. I had that kind of DS booty. And so years later, I remember being in high school, and somebody had steroids, a buddy of mine who was homosexual, and he ended up doing pills and driving into an embankment. But we got into using some steroids, and it made me feel, I just didn't have to think about that anymore. For the first time ever, I felt okay with how I looked. Even though I probably looked like an idiot. I'm already have never been really long in the neck, and I'm actually considering getting a neck brace, a children's neck brace, to get started with that. I want to probably put about 3/4 of an inch in my neck by maybe February or March of length. And but anyhow, so yeah, man, I can totally sympathize, and I appreciate you calling in and just voicing that, because that's real, man. When I got caught up using steroids for honestly probably a few years on and off, and I just never felt okay. And then the steroids would make me feel crazy. I got in a fight one time. Young brother stole an album one time at this party, and next thing you know, I'm out swinging with this kid and throwing hands, and that was in college. I remember just getting abusive and angry sometimes when I would get drunk, getting angry towards women at times when I was drunk. We're just mixing, because you don't realize at that point you're just mixing things up. But the biggest thing is over the years later, I remember thinking, wow, I don't know if whoever I truly am is even somebody that wants to spend that much time in the gym. I think in my heart of hearts, I think I would rather be, somebody who probably does a little bit more yoga or a little bit more of an artist, or maybe, to be honest, bro, I think I could have been a damn dancer, bro. Real talk, dude. Some of them, I think I had that footwork. I mean, I'd see a hummingbird sometimes, and I'd be like, man, I know this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Or I'd see some of those videos with that Fred Astaire or the Shirley Temple, and I'd feel like, man, I can do that footwork. Like I just felt like if I had the smallest heels on and I showed up on a pale-faced baby, then I could leave a 30 seconds later and just have freckled prints. I could leave freckles on that young stallion. That I just had the ability to do things. I could have been a dancer sometimes. But dude, you can't say that kind of shit some environment you're growing up in. When everybody else around you is tough, or, they got proper food at home and you're eating cereal. And then that's, and you're just not bringing on the calories and whatever you need or whatever. But I appreciate you sharing, man. That's crazy. But I can feel you to look in the mirror and know that, man, I don't even know who I am, but I'm so caught up in this, I just got to keep going. But I will say this, for me, over time, it's gotten better. And these days, if I can make a yoga class 3 days a week, I mean, it's taken me until here I am in my later 30s. But if I can hit a yoga class 3 days a week, I feel like I'm almost back where I need to be. You know, that I'm finally kind of just starting to really kind of grow up. That for some reason I had all these demons I had to ride over for a while. So, sorry to get serious, but I appreciate you calling in about that, man. Man, I'm tired, guys. I know it's, I can't tell if this is a good podcast or not. I have no idea. It's 1 a.m. here, and I got to be out of here at 5:30 to hit the air. But I'm happy to be here with you, and I'm going to keep it going. We got another call right here. But thank you so much for calling, man. And I wish you, if you're still involved in that and still using them roids, I wish you the best in finding a way out of it. Because I remember when my arms would start getting smaller, immediately I would feel less than. And these days still I worry about some of the side effects. Like extra hair on my back, or I don't have any anger issues or anything like that anymore, side effects, but extra hair on my back. What else would I think? Oh, one of my nuts one time felt a little bit square for a little while, but that could have been seasonal as well. But let's take another call. Here we go.
Hey, what up? If this is Theo, this is Jason out of Texas. I just wanted to say I was just listening to your podcast, and you said something about that everybody thinks Southerners eat worms and strangle fish or something. And
yeah, it's true. Everybody thinks Southerners, it's like we're nothing, like we're idiots, or we're this or we're that. A lot of great Southerners, man. A lot of amazing, great Southerners, or just Americans, which is really a cool way to think about them. Onward.
I laughed my ass off. And you're right. But who gives a fuck what they think? And don't mean we're ignorant. I'm from the South. When I go to California, they think I'm from Tennessee or something. I'm like, close, but, I'm from Texas. But anyways, I just wanted to call and say that because that shit was funny. Keep it up, bro. You keep people like me. That's what attracted me to you, is that Southern draw. It's like somebody like me, man. Peace.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm stuck with how I sound, man. And for years out in Hollywood, I tried to change the way that I sounded. I tried to change the way that I felt because I just didn't think I could get any work. They weren't going to let a guy like me have any work. I didn't look around and see any other Southerners or Midwesterners catching anybody that was like me making it in Hollywood. And I still don't these days. I mean, I can't really, and it makes me mad sometimes. I feel like, it doesn't make me mad, but it used to make me mad. It does, well, let me be clear about what I'm feeling. It makes me upset. It makes me feel unwanted a little bit, But I can't help it that I was born with the way that I sound. It's crazy. It's like in Hollywood, they'll say, embrace who you are and live your true self and do this and do that. But then you tell that to a boy, and he makes it all the way to Hollywood, and he gets there and he shows up, and and 15 years later he's still doing his art, and he's doing well at it. And then for people to still think, oh, this guy is this way, or this guy is that way, or this guy's an idiot, or this guy's, just because he sounds the way he does. Man, we wouldn't have a lot of amazing people if it weren't for the South. We wouldn't have the Louisiana Purchase. We wouldn't have Mark Twain. We wouldn't have Walker Percy. We wouldn't have Eudora Welty. I mean, you could go on. The list goes on forever. We wouldn't have SEC football. We wouldn't have probably half of the NFL. I mean, those are just a couple of small elements we wouldn't have if it weren't for the South. So it's like, and I'm no like Southern, like, I'm no rebel flag. I'm not in any of that shit. But I think that if you're going to say that everybody's welcome, let's make everybody welcome. Because when I look around Hollywood, I don't see anybody like me. And that's a little bit scary. It's like, what's going on? Are they trying to are we getting rid of people that sound Southern, or that are from a small town, or they're from the middle of nowhere? Do you know how hard it is to get from those places to the bigger cities and to get to another level? You know, it's a lot easier. I think it's a lot harder than starting out right there. Oh, you were born in New York or born in LA? And I'm just saying, I'm not trying to compare really, and I guess I'm getting a little fired up, man, but that kind of stuff makes me upset. But I feel you, man. It doesn't mean we're ignorant. Now, it doesn't help when they have people like, in Charlottesville that, that are ignorant as fuck. It doesn't help us, But I think you're right, man. We just keep shining whatever our true light is and do our best. Because if you take away my southern accent, then what am I? Then how do I sound to you? It's like, if you want to be accepting of people, let's be accepting of them. But yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild these days. It is really wild. And sometimes I feel like in my career path that I embody this thing that a lot of people currently hate, which is like these deplorables in the country. And maybe it's just a weird thought that I have about myself sometimes. I don't know. I know that I'm not that, but sometimes I feel like people treat me that way. Just because how I sound. And it's pretty sad, dude. It's like, hey, people are, preaching at rural America to not judge and to be diverse and to this and that. But then, we show up and, they just think we all are from Tennessee, It's just interesting, man. It's interesting. But hey, that's life, right? That's where we're at. So, all right, let's catch one more call, man. I appreciate you guys being here with me, man. I'm getting weird, I guess. Fuck, I don't know, dude. I wish I had a dang ginger ale right now. And I wish I had maybe some apple juice, too. When I was young, I used to drink apple juice, and boy, I would piss big on apple juice. I wet the bed till I was probably about 28 years old, and I used to piss big on apple juice. And I used to stay at my grandmother's, and they had apple juice up there. And when Daddy got doused up on that AJ, you know what I'm saying? When I got geeked out on Johnny A. Seed's round red treats, you knew that I was going to geyser up. You knew that. Let's hear one more question here, or one more call in. Thank you very much. And thanks for calling in there from Texas. Appreciate it. I'm happy to be in your home state today. It's a beautiful place.
What's up, Theo? This is Robbie Lopez from Kansas City, Missouri. I was calling to tell you about a time that pertained to the most recent show, and you said to call in. That's why I'm calling. Anyway.
Okay, I appreciate you calling, man. Let's get to it, buddy bear. Robbie Lopez, onward.
There was this girl that was super duper hot, like back in the day. We were all hanging out, and she was a skinhead girl. She's running around with the skinhead dudes, and she had what we call a Chelsea haircut. And it was like short hair, whatever. Beautiful girl, though. Big, dazzling eyes, real pretty. Well, I'd always be mean to her. She never knew that I thought she was pretty.
Okay, so she had a skinhead haircut. You called it a Chelsea cut. That reminds me, when I was growing up, they only had one hairstyle in our town, and it was kind of like a Polish lesbian style. And that was our bus driver who gave us that cut, Mr. Ray. And he would park the bus and cut everybody's hair at the same time. And that was a $2 cut you got from him. And he kept the shears up there in a bag under his seat. And he'd stop the bus on Thursdays and get everybody's head at once. Beautiful Ray. And he's in heaven now or in hell. I don't know what he did in his spare time. But he seemed heaven-bound based upon the small activities I saw him pull off. Anyhow, onward.
And I would call her a little boy, say she looked like a little boy. Her hair was ugly, shit like that. Never thought nothing of it because I knew I'd never have a chance with this chick. And lo and behold, about 8 years later, I get a tap on my shoulder while I'm sitting at the bar with some friends. And it's this smoking hot girl. And it turns out to be that girl. She tells me, I have not forgot about that since. I hated you for so long, all this stuff.
Wow, so she showed back up into your life, huh? That's very much, is that karma? I don't know what that is. It's maybe human karma, but not karma. I think that's just somebody showing back up. Okay? Tell me more.
We'll end up hanging out. She ends up having sex with me.
Woo.
That stuff pays. You give them a complex, and you end up reaping the rewards. So it goes both ways.
I appreciate this story, man. That's an interesting thing, is giving a girl a complex like that. And they used to have a book about it. It was this guy, Nick, somebody, it was like The Art of Dating or something like that, The Art of Attracting Women, something. And it was called a neg. Like if you gave a woman a neg, like a negative thing, then that it would turn around later and they would, it would make them feel negative. So then you had an upper hand or something. I'm not sure the psychology behind it, but it ended up getting women attracted to you. So that's interesting, man, that you told her, when she had that short haircut, she was running with that female fade, you know what I'm saying? That UPS worker, a lot of female UPS workers, sport that top. And it's interesting because, that doesn't always work that way. I remember one time, because I remember hearing this when I was in college, and I was not doing swell with the chicas. And this girl at a club, I saw her, and I was immediately, she was a pretty girl and she seemed nice. And I said, man, that dress looks horrible on you. Oh no, I said, you could do a lot better than that dress. That's what I said. And I don't think it was my typical behavior. I was just trying something, I was trying anything. I was susceptible. And she walked off, right? Well, about 4 minutes later, these two dudes come over and they're fucking pissed, dude. The guy's like, you're being a dick to my friend. This dude slapped me in the neck. Okay? I've been hit before. I don't know if you've ever been slapped in the neck, but I felt like a black child in church because a black mother will slap a child in the neck. You know what I'm saying? That neck is a popular destination for a black mother's hand. And this dude, for the rest of the night in this bar, dude, I was too embarrassed to leave. I was like, I'm not going to leave like a little bitch, But I had 2 drinks. I was holding them against my neck, bro, to keep the swelling down. So, in this case, you're lucky that it worked out that way, I guess. But the issue then is just bigger than that. For me, what I see is that the girls that are going to like that kind of stuff, something's wrong with them, And I'm not saying something's wrong with them long term, but they have an issue. They feel like if they get put down that, they have some daddy issues or, they have, they're not emotionally stable, The girls that like that kind of stuff are kind of fucked up. And you might get laid, but then if you end up with a woman like that, is it going to be a healthy relationship? An emotionally stable woman is going to be like, fuck this guy. This guy has no self-esteem. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm just, I know you're showing me the other side of what can happen if somebody tells you something bad, how it can turn out good. In this case, it turned out good, where you were the one saying something bad, even though you were just saying it because you were, you probably were too insecure to tell her that you liked her. And it's easy to sound confident when you're being negative. So if you give a woman a negative thing, what I think is the attractive part is just being confident. And I think in women's head, it gets tripped around like, oh, he's confident at least enough to tell me something negative, so he must be a confident man, But, I just don't think that long term that's easy, that's that great, And what helps me for approaching women, because my problem was I used to put women on a pedestal before I even approached them. I used to think that every woman was better than me. But when you approach them, you know what I'm saying? You pull up and you got you throw a little bit of duck in your gut. When you push your butt out and you put your neck long. You put a little duck in your gut, man, and you show up with a little bit of quack in your stack. You know what I'm saying? You stack your balls. That's why sometimes I do wish my balls were square, so you could stack them. You saying, I'm having a tough time at this moment, but I'm not going into this moment unprepared. I'm going in full fortitude, and I'm going to stack my balls before I walk through this fire that is facing me right now. And that's what women want. They want the confidence, And I notice if I don't post women on a pedestal first, and I just think about them as just a regular person, that I don't need to have sex with them. I don't need them to like me. But I do want them to know who I am. That way I find out it always works out well. It always works out cleanly. Because I'm so grateful that years now I'm not stuck with someone who is insecure or heavily insecure. We all have some. But look, I got enough. So I need somebody that's probably going to be just a little more secure than me, See, I think showing up to a woman and, just with that confidence, you don't have to use that negative, but hit her with that confidence. Wow, you look good. And you don't need to say it like I need to fuck you. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'll go home. I'll go home and read a book from a famous Southern author that probably changed the universe. All right? I'll go home and watch Interview with a Vampire Diaries or whatever shit that was filmed in New Orleans. Everybody wants to say the South isn't shit, but they want to come to our they want to come to our areas of the country and use us for our history and our culture. They want to, it's like, every place offers something to this country. Every place does. So I don't know, man. I think that maybe that got me a little bent out of shape tonight. So I didn't mean to bring some of this down on you guys, but I appreciate you calling, man. I appreciate you calling with that thought. It's interesting. It's interesting that's the way it can work out sometimes. You can do a neg. And I think, you can neg a woman. You can give her a negative. And, she'll remember, that guy was at least brave enough to not just hit on me. He at least it seemed like he didn't need me. But then if you end up with that woman, it's, just starts off from an unreal place. So I feel it as a way to pick up a chick if you're just trying to get laid. Yeah, that could definitely work. But if you're looking for something long term, you know what I'm saying? If you're trying to be an ostrich and stick your head down in a woman's dirt for a long period of time, you're not trying to catch a worm, but you down there, you know what I'm saying, just looking at the roots, seeing what's in the dirt, seeing what's in that woman's heart and head. If you're wanting to be in there for a while, then I don't really recommend that behavior. But I appreciate you calling about it. We all have things that people have said to us in our past that make us feel a certain way and that build on us. I think a lot of those things were with our parents sometimes. I remember my father always said, and this might be a little bit of a downer, but he always said, "Have I ever let you down?" That's what my father said. Because I think at his age, in his 70s and going into his 80s, that was his biggest fear. Was having these young children and them thinking that he let us down. And I always had to lie to him, man. I did not really enjoy my life as a child. And I would always tell him that he didn't let me down, even though he often did. And so then I think I built up this thing where I was afraid to tell people when I was not feeling good. I was afraid to tell people when I was hurting. I was afraid to tell people that I felt insecure about how skinny I was. So then I go on and end up using performance enhancing drugs. And I remember one time I had an ex-girlfriend, she found all my steroids and broke them all. Come on, honey cat. Daddy's trying to get them gams, But in hindsight, thank God, man. Who knows, I remember one time I bought some stuff from some dude who told me it was steroids, and I ate them for probably about 8 weeks, and it was just some kind of junior mints that he had taken all of the coatings off of. So I'm fucking out there going hard in the gym, thinking I'm on performance-enhancing drugs, dude, and I'm on damn movie candy. So you don't know what you're getting in this drug market, and you never have known. But some of that came from, insecurities. Me, people saying, look at this skinny boy. People look, feeling weak, afraid to play sports because I was too weak, or we didn't have insurance. So if I got hurt, we weren't going to be able to, I'd just be broken. If I broke my neck, I was just that dude who, always had his head on one of his shoulders, If I broke my clavicle, I was just going to be that fellow whose shirt never fit right for the rest of his life. But it left me with fear. Most of the stuff we do is out of fear. People are probably afraid to get to know Southerners sometimes because maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're afraid that they won't have as much history as we have, or they won't, be as kind as we will. I don't know. People, fear runs a lot of things. It's amazing. Old Poop Eyes called in, man, my dude. Old PE, they call him. And he probably was, every time he went to the bathroom, he probably was thinking about his eyes. That's bizarre, isn't it? And here this dude is just on that rear strain game, and he's thinking about his eyes because of something somebody said one time. It's crazy the junk we carry. It's crazy. I'm trying to think of some other things that happened to me. I used to have really bad spaces in my teeth. People would make fun of that all the time. I have medium arms. Somebody told me I had medium length arms one time. And God, look at that arm. If you can see that, I'm not trying to be Charlottesville in here at all. I'll just put it up in the air. Sorry. But it's, I only have medium length arms. So every time I reach for something, if I go get a can of soda, it makes me think about that. Well, damn. What life would be like if I had another extra inch of hug coming out of each arm for somebody. It's just crazy with what we get left with. And how we don't know how to get out of it. And I think one thing we need in this world is to change our school system, man. And you can be like, well, dude, what are you talking about? It's such a vague blanket statement, Theo. Yeah, it is, bro. Okay, but here's what I'm saying. The fact that we don't have a class that teaches kids how to accept one another, that teaches kids how to share their feelings if they are feeling a certain way, that teaches kids, that if they got kid tits, how to get through that, emotionally, so that they're not running around having to use drugs and having to compensate, I remember one time, I feel like I didn't like my eyelashes, so this lady I was living with had an eyelash curler. So for 2 weeks, I was curling my eyelashes, man, because I felt like I don't know. Dang, now it sounds like, maybe I wanted to be like, just like a young woman, but that's not the truth. I just felt inferior about how I looked, and that's why you have kids running around doing all this stuff. And that's why you have people running around racially out of their brains, filled with hatred because something happened to them. Somebody taught them something wrong, or somebody said something to them, or did something to them. I had some hatred against race when I was young. I got jumped by a bunch of black kids a couple times. Man, it'll make you mad. But that kind of stuff fades after you realize that a lot of people in certain environments are just angry. It doesn't matter what color they are, or there's something wrong in their lives. They're broken too, I just can't believe we don't have a class that helps people learn certain things. Because I'm sure I've sounded very stupid, very ignorant to a lot of people. But I'm out here, I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm keeping my poop. I got poop brown eyes, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I'll go bold. I'll show you my bowls, dude. What's in your bowls? I'll hit you with these opticals, man, these dirty whirlpools. And I want to throw out a topic for next week before we get out of here. If say the world were coming to an end, as we know it, they got, these alleged North Korea threats. And I believe that a lot of that is hype. I really do. Sure, you have a president that runs off at the Twitter handle and, but I think a lot of it's hype. I think North Korea would be silly to engage in activity that would ruin what they have going on. Sure, what they have going on isn't ideal to a lot of us, communism, but to them it is. And they seem to be getting away with it, so surely they wouldn't want to ruin that. So I think it would just be ignorant for them to really start something wild. But I'd like to know, say the world's going to end, and you have a day left. What do you do? What do you do with that day? How do you look at it? What do you, and I want to keep it out of the depths of despair, but in a joyous way. How are you going to spend that last day? What are you going to do? And I'm going to think about what I would do as well, and we'll go from there. So anyhow, man, I didn't mean to get negative tonight, man, but sometimes things go where they go. And I hope to get some rest and join with you guys next weekend. And I'm going to try to do some other stuff. I'm hoping we get the studio built this week, so that's great. And we're staying at good numbers, man, and I appreciate you guys' support. Stick with us. It's just 1 week, man. We're going to do some things, man, and we're going to do it together. And I appreciate you guys, you fucking beautiful little Ecuadorian mud cats. You know what I'm saying? I'll squirt frosting up your grandmother's freaking nose holes, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll blow in her mouth and just as hard as I can and just have her just spouting out, turn her into a beautiful sweet cream fountain. So if you got a grandmother, man, tell them I love her. Tell them I love her. But I'm Theo Vaughn, and I appreciate you guys being here with me. This has been this past weekend. I'll see you guys next week, or maybe we'll do a follow-up this week. I'm going to try to. All right, take care. Oh, I'm tired. Celebrate misery. Man. Sad some of the stuff that's going on out there, man. But there's also some great stuff going on out there. Let's focus on that, huh? Let's focus on our side of the street. You know, I bet all of us have somebody good in our lives. If we can just find them, we just got to look. Somebody got to look. Might be somebody small, somebody not even recognizing, who recognizes a lot of the value in you. I appreciate you guys being here with me. Be good to yourselves, man. I bet you guys deserve it. See you guys next week.